in the pursuit of greatness, there's going to be obstacles and it's going to be difficult. It's kind of like climbing Mount Everest, right? You're halfway up and then a snowstorm comes. Obviously, nobody wants to be in the snowstorm. Obviously, it's uncomfortable, but you have to semi-expect it and you have to get to the top. So all you can do is put one foot in front of the other and keep on going. For me, it was just a matter of making sure that we managed to fall out effectively, which we did. Flip it on its head, which we did. Become more successful in spite of it, which we've done. And there's always work to do. And as long as there's work to do, there's no time to sit around and mope. You just have to get up and fight. Matrix, we're in a computer-controlled reality, right? They've projected a false reality into people's minds to entertain them while their bodies are being exploited by the machines. And it's very similar here in the real world. You are inside of a reality which is false. It doesn't necessarily have to be computer-controlled, but it's certainly media-influenced.
But who controls it?
The people who are behind the media machine, the people who are in charge of the world, which are also behind the governments. And the point I'm making when I say the Matrix is they will tell you false versions of reality. They will tell you things that simply aren't true so that you believe in lies just to keep yourself and your mind distracted while your body is being exploited for work. And it's exactly the same thing as the movie itself. Is you have very influential people with a lot of power, with a lot of resource, who are interested in creating slave minds amongst the general populace because they don't want to upset their very fortunate position in the world.
Yeah.
So there is a genuine and obvious agenda to attack masculinity as a whole, for example. The idea of masculinity, they like the idea of that being attacked. There's also obvious attempts to accelerate certain other ideas, whether, especially in the West, right? Yeah. The idea of children changing gender or putting sex in children's movies like Disney, etc. This is not conspiracy theories. This is all very obvious.
Yeah.
People are pushing these agendas and they're pushing them for a reason. And it's very powerful people who are doing it, and they're trying to destroy the morality and certainly the resolve of the general populace, the general people, because they want to keep their very fortunate positions. And that's what's happening.
So, like,
people who are truly in charge of the world are sitting and saying, what is most advantageous to us?
Yeah.
Is it more advantageous to us if people are semi-depressed, self-obsessed, selfish, don't care about their neighbor, have no morality, atheistic, and will absorb anything they're told without any kind of resistance? Or is it better for us if they think for themselves and they're critically thinking and they believe in religion and they want to do good to God? And the truth is, in the West at least, it's the first answer to the things they're interested in. And I don't think these people are publicly known. I don't think they're well known, no. I think there's families that have been in charge of the world for a very long time. Even during the coronavirus pandemic, a lot of people were saying, oh, I agree, Andrew, it's all a scam. They're doing it for money. And I said, no, that's a very optimistic way to look at the world. They're not doing it for money. These people are beyond money.
They have enough money.
They print money. They don't care about money. It's about power, it's about control, it's about influence, and it's about having enough people do as you say regardless. And it's an interesting time of humanity we're living in, because now we have the internet and there's supposed to be free speech, but there's certainly more free information. And I feel like a lot of people's minds are slowly waking up to the fact that a lot of the things you're told on the traditional news is a lie. The traditional media machine is nothing but a propaganda machine. And they're trying very hard to still keep control over us and keep influence over us. And they're doing that by, especially with the way societies work, especially with the way relationships work, with the way the children go to school, certain things they're keeping a very tight grip on because they know it's very important for their power and their They're trying to destroy the baseline morality inside of humans, because once you do that, the slave programming has no resistance. Even things that you know intrinsically are wrong, like pedophilia, for example.
Yeah.
You know it's intrinsically wrong, but they're deliberately trying to attack your senses and make you sit and question yourself and go, well, maybe it's not so wrong. If they can convince you that having sex with children who have no consent to give is somehow acceptable, then they can convince you of anything. They can convince you to kill your fellow man, convince you to lock yourself in your house because of the common cold, convince you to work a job for no money, own nothing, and be happy and eat the bugs. It's bullshit. Yeah. And they're doing it on purpose, and they're attacking our senses, and it's extremely important we call them out and make it clear that we know what they're doing, and we're not stupid enough to fall for it. Committing a crime, and they're elites which see themselves beyond reprehension. They're elites that see themselves beyond the law. We understand that the Western world is completely corrupt from head to toe. There's private islands where terrible things happen. These private islands are in close leagues with people who are running these fashion brands. This is absolutely disgusting. With children are being exploited, lives are being ruined. Yeah. They're trying to show you, because they worship Satan, what they're doing, and they're trying to tell the world what they're doing so they don't face any repercussion for it. They're also trying to assault your consciousness and destroy your baseline morality to make a slave of you. This is beyond cancel culture.
Absolutely.
This is not some simple bullshit. This is a big deal. I don't think I'm necessarily a smooth talker in that regard. I am a smooth talker, but I'm certainly not trying to convince people and push them down the traditional route that the Matrix is trying to lay out for people. I'm doing the absolute opposite. So you have to understand that if you see me as an agent of the Matrix, then you must see that all these other ideals they're pushing as anti-Matrix. Me and the things I'm saying are completely against mainstream culture in most ways. We can't both be pushing in the same direction, so you have to choose one. If you believe that I'm the bad and that the mainstream media and their culture is good when they're trying to convince children to chop their dicks off, and Balenciaga and pedophilia and all the insanity which is on the news, if you believe that's the good and I'm the bad, that's your prerogative, completely. But I would argue that it's completely the opposite way around. It's obvious to see. Tried to cancel me, not because of what I say, because of my mass influence, because I was extremely influential, and they tried to destroy me and delete me, because if you have mass influence and you say things which talk against their agendas, they don't like it.
I have a question.
I truly believe that people still run the world because we decide how much we tolerate.
Yeah.
And we're unfortunately too tolerant of too much garbage, but we still do have control over the world. On an individual level, I can tell people how to escape the Matrix, but on a societal level, it's far more complicated, because the unfortunate reality is not everybody can escape. Yeah. You need some people to believe in the system completely, because if everybody didn't believe in the system, then society would break down. Nobody would want to do some bullshit job, right? Yeah. Like, it would all be gone. But as a whole, people certainly need to learn to reject the slave mind and reject the information that is told to them from the news, understand that's all a lie. People need to stand up for the obvious injustices they see. They need to state in clear language that Balenciaga are pedophiles, for example. That's very important for humanity, for it's clear. It's important that they control your speech, because you're not going to think what you don't say. And this is how they control what people think, by controlling what people say in the first place. So that's very important. But on an individual level and on a societal level, they're different things. On an individual level, I think it's very important for you to be a sovereign individual, which is hard to do, especially in the modern world, but you need to have finances. It's hard to be free when you're broke. That finance needs to be in places or come from streams which can't be affected or canceled or turned off by the Matrix machine. You need to be financially free. You need a strong network. You need good friends. You need to be anti-fragile. You need to be available to travel around the world, many passports. There's a whole bunch of things you can set up as an individual. But for the people watching at home, they just need to sit and understand that the system does not make rules for the good of you. It makes rules for the good of the people who make the rules. And a lot of the life paths and systematic processes that are laid out to the average man at home today is not for their own good. It's only going to lead them to depression and misery. It's for the good of the system. So yeah, I agree. It's good to step away from media, think for yourself, etc. But most people are not smart enough. Most people are not intelligent enough to self-analyze and defrag their own brains and understand they're being programmed. Yeah. Most people do not have that level of intellect to sit there and say, every strongly held opinion that I have, where did it come from? Who told me it? And do they have my best interests at heart? You didn't like me, for example. No, it's fine. I actually find it's great for me to make points. So I'm glad you didn't like me. I don't like Andrew Tate. Why? Well, they told me not to like him. Who told me? Well, these people. Do they care about me? No. Like, most people don't get an opinion and break down where it even comes from. They just get an opinion and they defend it. And you'll see people arguing and fighting in the street over opinions they don't even know where they've come from in the first place. Most people are not intelligent enough for that. So everybody and everything you consume is going to influence you to a degree. The mass media machine is trying to influence everyone. I'm trying to influence everyone. Yeah. I'm right here trying to influence people. I'll sit here and say, I'm trying to influence people at home. I just like to think that those at home understand, yeah, Tate's influencing me, but he is living a life I want to live. He has better intentions. He has a purer heart than the mass media machine and the pedophiles of Balenciaga.